The sky over the American Midwest was no longer blue. Thick clouds of ash drifted lazily across a blood-red horizon, a ghost of the cities that once teemed with life. Below, abandoned airstrips stretched like skeletons across the plains, littered with rusted aircraft, broken comm towers, and scorched earth. But above, far above, 4 remaining F-16 fighter jets cut silently through the gloom, ghosts of a force that once ruled the skies. Captain Arden Cole adjusted his flight mask, eyes locked on the fading radar display. His jet, call sign Raptor 1, led the formation. Behind him flew Lieutenant Hannah Reeves, Sergeant Blake Rowe, and Specialist Talia Cruz. Together, they were all that remained of Falcon Squadron, the last airstrike division of the once mighty Western Air Command. Still no comms from Base Omega, Hannah's voice crackled through the headset. Either the tower's down, or they've been overrun. Cole didn't answer immediately. He stared out at the scarred land below, memories of the first outbreaks flashing through his mind. Cities evacuated in chaos, airfields repurposed into quarantine zones, and the horrifying day when drones filmed entire battalions disappearing under waves of the infected. "Keep calm silence after this," he replied. "We're not alone up here." There had been rumors. Survivors claimed some of the undead were changing, adapting. It sounded impossible, even insane. But reports were coming in of sky crawlers, mutated variants that climbed sheer surfaces and launched themselves from rooftops to drag low-flying helicopters out of the air. Cole had seen one with his own eyes, back in Arizona. The thing had torn into a rescue chopper like a missile. His radar pinged. A faint signature. Then another. Dozens. He narrowed his eyes. Contacts. East Quadrant. 10 clicks out. Birds? Blake asked. Cole's jaw clenched. Not birds. They dove low, slicing beneath the cloud line. The terrain opened up like a broken battlefield. What once had been a refugee camp now looked like a cratered wasteland. In the center, Cole spotted movement. Dozens, no hundreds of bodies shuffling toward the wreckage of a downed cargo plane. And then he saw them, moving faster than the rest, limbs stretched long and unnatural. Glowing eyes. Twitching heads. One of them leapt onto the plane's wing and screeched upward at the jets. "Those aren't regular infected," Cruz whispered. "I see them," Cole replied grimly. "They're evolving." Suddenly, the infected swarmed the wreckage with purpose, not just feeding but pulling pieces off the plane, using wreckage to build something. "A ramp? A mound?" Blake growled. "What the hell are they doing?" Before anyone could answer, the mound exploded upward, a launch platform of sorts. One of the mutants hurled itself into the air like a cannonball, aiming not at the ground, but at them. "Evasive!" Cole shouted, breaking formation. The creature missed, but barely. It spiraled back to Earth like a meteor, smashing through trees and disappearing in a cloud of dirt. The squadron climbed fast, regaining altitude. "Captain," Hannah gasped, "we're losing control of the ground. They're coordinating." Cole grit his teeth. "Which means we're not just pilots anymore. We're all that's left of organized air defense." For the next 30 minutes, they scouted the region in silence, marking new zones where infected were gathering en masse. But the bigger question burned in all of them. Why now? What had changed? Their fuel reserves were low. Cole signaled a return course to Forward Station Echo 4, a hidden hangar buried beneath an abandoned mountain base. But just as they prepared descent, a message cut across the emergency frequency. "Falcon Squadron. Echo 4, compromised, under attack, requesting immediate airstrike." The voice was panicked, broken, but familiar. "General Marks," Cole whispered. He hadn't heard that name in months. The last surviving command officer of the Western Defense Grid. "Coordinates incoming," the message continued. "Undead breaching inner defenses. We have something they want, cannot let it fall into enemy hands." The message ended with gunfire and a long static scream. Hannah broke protocol. "What does he mean, something they want? They're just brain-dead monsters." "No," Cole said, adjusting course. "Not anymore." He looked down at the rising terrain. Echo 4 was less than 20 miles away, buried deep within the Colorado Divide. "If the infected are targeting Echo 4, he said, "then whatever's inside must matter more than we ever guessed." "And if they get it?" Cruz asked. "Then we lose the skies. Forever." They switched to stealth mode and descended behind the hills. Thick smoke billowed from Echo 4's hangar as the sun sank low on the edge of the world. In the distance, human screams echoed from metal corridors, overrun by the snarls of the inhuman. Cole's heart pounded. "Falcon Squadron," he said, his voice cold and calm. Prepare for ground combat. Ground? Blake choked. Sir, we're pilots. Not tonight, Cole said. Tonight, we're soldiers. And with that, they landed amidst fire and fury, the last line between hope and extinction. The hangar doors of Echo 4 groaned open just long enough to swallow the descending Falcon squadron jets. Sparks rained from the ceiling as backup power sputtered to life. Inside, a skeleton crew of engineers waved frantically, guiding the aircraft to emergency landings on the scorched floor. As soon as the jets screeched to a halt, Captain Cole yanked off his flight helmet and leapt out, boots hitting the concrete. Smoke hung in the air like a warning. Echo 4, once a fortified mountain stronghold, was falling apart. Where's General Marks? He demanded, scanning the chaos. Command center, an engineer coughed, eyes wide. But it's not secure. They're inside the tunnels now. We've sealed most of them, but... A deep, unnatural howl rolled through the base like thunder. Cole turned toward his squadron. Arm up. We moved together. The team sprinted across the hangar, weaving between overturned equipment and broken crates. Soldiers, barely more than terrified volunteers, scrambled past them with makeshift weapons. One clutched a fire axe, another dragged a wounded comrade toward a supply closet. As the squad reached the steel corridor leading to the central command room, the emergency lights flickered overhead. Blood streaked the walls. Bullet holes pocked the ceiling. And from deep inside the tunnel came the sound of scraping, like claws on metal. Cruz checked her rifle. They're not just here for food. They're hunting something. Hannah nodded grimly. Or someone. They pushed forward, following the scent of burning electronics and charred flesh. Just before the command doors, 2 armed guards lay dead, not bitten but torn apart. Whatever had gotten to them hadn't fed. It had ripped through just to move faster. Cole keyed in the override code. The doors opened with a shriek of metal, revealing General Marks, face pale, pistol in hand, leaning against a shattered console. A trail of blood led from his thigh to a smoldering medkit on the floor. Captain Cole, he breathed. You made it. General, what are they after? Cole asked, helping him to sit. Why are they so focused on Echo 4? Marks coughed hard, his voice cracked with exhaustion. 3 weeks ago, our recon drones picked up something buried in Nevada. A transmitter sending a low-frequency pulse on a loop. At first, we thought it was a distress beacon from a lost bunker. What was it? Hannah asked. Marks looked up slowly. It was a signal. Not human. We brought the core unit here for analysis. Since then, they've been coming for us. In waves. Getting smarter every time. Cole's heart sank. Are you saying the infected are responding to the signal? Marks nodded. It's like they were waiting. The transmission woke them up, or changed them. A thunderous boom shook the entire mountain. The lights flickered again. Then silence. Blake raised his weapon. That didn't feel like an explosion. That felt like something just landed. Cole motioned to the hallway. We're out of time. Where's the transmitter? Marks pointed to a sealed chamber behind the command room. Level 3 containment. But listen to me, Captain. If Echo 4 falls, you must get that device back to the airfield. Whatever it is, it's the reason they're evolving. We either control it or we lose everything. Suddenly, the control doors buckled behind them. Something was slamming it from the outside, hard and rhythmic. Cole spun toward the team. Secure the general. Blake, Cruz, you're with me. Hannah, guard this door. With weapons ready, they stormed into the containment wing. The hallway was ice cold. Frost covered the walls, not natural cold but the kind that came with deep storage and power fluctuations. At the end of the corridor, behind a biometric lock, sat a glass cylinder filled with humming blue light. Floating inside was a strange black orb no larger than a fist, covered in vein-like grooves that pulsed every few seconds. Around it, machines monitored frequencies too low for human ears. Blake squinted. That thing doesn't look like anything we built. Cruz stepped closer. What if it isn't? Cole didn't have time to speculate. He carefully detached the cylinder from its housing and secured it inside a reinforced carrier pack. The second he sealed the pack, the orb pulsed faster, and from somewhere beyond the base, another howl answered. They felt that, Cruz whispered. A crash echoed from the command room. Hannah's voice came over the comms, breathless and panicked. Captain. One of them got in. It's not like the others, it's huge, it's armored. Gunfire rattled over the radio. Cole sprinted back with the others. The command room was in chaos. The reinforced door had been torn open, steel bent inward. Hannah fired round after round at a hulking, pale figure stalking toward them, at least 8 feet tall, armored in what looked like bone. It wasn't fast, but it was unshaken by bullets. Cruz lobbed a flash grenade, giving them 2 precious seconds of light and sound. Cole grabbed the general, slung the signal pack onto his back and shouted to the squad, "Fall back to the hangar. We launch now." "But we can't leave them," Hannah shouted. "If we stay, no one makes it out." The squad fought their way out, retreating step by step down the corridor. The monstrous figure didn't chase, it merely watched, as if studying them. They reached the jets with moments to spare. As the engines roared to life and the hangar doors cracked open again, Cole looked over his shoulder at the burning base, the place where humanity might have finally unlocked why the undead kept coming. "Operation Final Sky is now active," he said into the comms. "Next stop, Blackridge Airfield. If there's still a future, that's where we'll fight for it." And as the squad lifted off into the night sky, none of them looked back. The engines roared as Falcon Squadron soared east, leaving the smoke and ruins of Echo 4 behind them. The night was unnaturally quiet, no civilian chatter on the open frequencies, no distant sirens. Just static and silence. Captain Cole kept one eye on the glowing orb strapped behind his seat. The transmitter hummed faintly inside its containment case, pulsing like a living heart. He hated how it seemed to react to movement as if it knew it was in the air again. "ETA to Blackridge Airfield. 17 minutes, Hannah's voice crackled across the comms. Cole nodded to himself, then keyed in the comms. "Squadron weapons hot. If they knew about Echo 4, there's a good chance they're waiting at Blackridge too." "They shouldn't know where we're going," Blake said. "We barely knew ourselves." "They don't need maps anymore," Cruz added. "They're tracking the signal. Somehow." A chill passed through the cockpit. Below them, farmland stretched for miles, dark and dead. Trees stripped bare. Highways blocked by decades-old wreckage. The world was a graveyard with no headstones. Then, like a knife through the dark, a blinking light appeared ahead, the beacon tower of Blackridge Airfield. They'd made it. The 4 jets circled once, then descended toward the tarmac. The base had once served as a supply hub for regional evac teams, fortified and self-sustaining. It had been considered safe, untouchable. Now, Cole could already see smoke rising from one of the outbuildings. "Perimeter lights still active," Cruz said. "But I'm not seeing any patrols." "Something's wrong," Cole muttered. "Keep your helmets on. Full gear. Eyes open." The jets touched down smoothly, skidding across cracked pavement and rolling to a stop beside the central hangar. Cole jumped down first, weapon raised. The hangar doors were wide open. No sentries. No signs of resistance. Then a faint voice over the airfield intercom system. "Incoming personnel, please proceed to Command Bunker 1. This is not a drill." It was a recording. On a loop. Cole motioned forward. "Cruz with me. Blake and Hannah cover the flanks." We checked the bunker. Inside, the command bunker smelled like rust and stale air. The corridors were lit, barely, by flickering strips of emergency light. Bullet casings scattered the floor, but there were no bodies. Too quiet. Too clean. They found the control room. A single figure sat slumped in the chair, an airman in full combat gear, head resting against the console. Cole approached carefully. "Sir?" No response. He stepped closer and tapped the man's shoulder. The airman fell sideways, cold and pale. Dead. But not from a bite. No wounds. No blood. "He didn't fight," Cruz whispered. "He just died." Cole glanced at the nearby screen. Static. One corner displayed a log. "Airfield lockdown initiated. Reason, biohazard breach. Status, unresolved." Suddenly, Hannah's voice cut in sharply over the comms. "Captain. Movement. Southern runway, multiple contacts inbound fast." Cole sprinted to the window. Shapes were emerging from the treeline, dozens of them, maybe hundreds. Normal infected, yes, but mixed in were taller ones. Ones that moved with coordination. Not rage. Purpose. "They followed us," Blake growled. "They followed the transmitter," Cole corrected. "We led them here." Blake didn't hesitate. "We hold them at the runway. By time to get the transmitter on a bird and out of here." Cole turned to Cruz. "Find a working cargo drone. Something small, fast, and airborne. We'll load the transmitter. I'm not letting it fall into their hands." Cruz took off down the hallway. The others moved to the outer wall of the base, a defensive line, sandbags still in place, automated turrets mounted on rails. Cole activated the outer defenses. The base lights flared on. Turrets clicked in word. Then, the horde came. It started with a sprint, a wall of infected rushing the fences with shrieks and snarls. The automated guns opened fire, sweeping the front line and cutting down dozens. The runway lit up with muzzle flashes and bloodless shadows tumbling to the ground. But behind them came the Evolved, using wreckage as cover, hurling themselves forward with unnatural speed. One of them used a downed signpost like a javelin, impaling a turret and shorting the circuit. "They're flanking," Hannah shouted, opening fire. Another turret exploded in sparks. Then a deep thud shook the air, like a drumbeat from below. Cole turned. From the hangar's far edge, the massive armored variant from Echo 4 emerged, slower but far more lethal. Bone-plated skin. Eyes glowing faint blue. It didn't run. Just advanced. Cruz's voice shouted through comms. "Found a working drone. Engine's good. Prepping launch now." Cole nodded grimly. "We'll hold the line until it's airborne." The next 3 minutes were chaos. Bullets. Screams. Explosions. Hannah went down, wounded but breathing, dragging herself behind the fuel crates. Blake ran out of ammo and grabbed a mounted railgun, mowing down dozens until it overheated and seized. Cole found himself face to face with the armored one. Its eyes locked onto the transmitter case on his back. With a roar, it lunged. Cole dove to the side, grabbed a fallen flare and jammed it into the creature's eye. It screamed, stumbled, and Cruz's drone shot past above them, thrusters firing. The transmitter was in the air. The creature looked up, howled and gave chase, leaping straight into the sky after it. But it was too slow. The drone vanished over the horizon, signal intact. Cole lay on the tarmac, panting, staring at the night. They'd held the airfield. Barely. But the war was changing. And from here on, the skies were no longer safe. The drone cut through the early dawn sky, gliding low over burned hills and fractured landscapes. Inside its sealed payload chamber, the signal device pulsed in silence, each rhythm a whisper into the void. And something was answering. At Blackridge Airfield, Captain Arden Cole stood beside the ruins of the southern defense wall. Smoke curled upward from the still-burning turrets. The bodies of the infected lay in heaps, twitching, silent, or turned to ash. Hannah sat against the side of a supply truck, her arm bandaged tightly, her eyes distant. Blake worked in the background, reinforcing the gates with welded steel and whatever debris he could find. They'd survived the night. But it hadn't been a victory. Not when the cost was knowing the transmitter hadn't stopped calling out. Cole keyed his radio. "Cruz, status on the drone?" Cruz's voice answered with tension laced through every word. "Still airborne. Maintaining altitude. But something's happening. We tapped into the signal's frequency again. It's getting stronger. As if it's reacting to open airspace." Cole frowned. "Reacting how?" There was a long pause. "It's not just broadcasting anymore," she finally said. "It's receiving." Cole's pulse quickened. "From where?" "I don't know. Somewhere out west. The drone just picked up a return ping. We're triangulating." Blake stepped up behind Cole, holding a salvaged radar pad. "I ran a sweep. Sir, you need to see this." On the screen, clusters of red dots bloomed across the map. Not random outbreaks, movements. Coordinated ones. Dozens of infected masses, all shifting in the same direction, toward the signal's projected flight path. Cole stared at it. "They're converging." "They're not just chasing anymore," Blake said. "They're following orders." Hannah limped over. "What if it's not them? What if the infected are just the tool?" "You mean something else is giving the orders?" Cole asked. Hannah nodded. "The signal might not be undead in origin at all." Cruz chimed back in. "We just confirmed it. The return ping came from a satellite relay near Death Valley. An old classified military site, Project Helix. Shut down decades ago." Cole's eyes narrowed. He remembered hearing whispers about Project Helix during officer briefings. A site connected to deep space surveillance, black ops tech, and off-the-books testing. No one was ever supposed to mention it. "You think this signal came from there?" Cole asked. "Or worse," Cruz replied. "It started there." Cole turned toward the tarmac. The drone still flew, far beyond visual range now, drawing attention like a flare in the night. They had to move, fast. "Prep the fuel trucks," Cole ordered. "We're not holding Blackridge. We'll take the skies again and follow the drone. Find Helix. End this at the source." As they packed up gear and refueled their jets, something shifted in the atmosphere. A faint pressure. A vibration. The kind of sensation you don't hear, but feel. Then the perimeter sensors beeped. Cole's heart sank. Cruz came back on comms, panicked. Captain, East Ridge, something just landed. I don't mean infected. I mean a craft. Cole and Blake ran toward the outer wall, rifles raised. And there, nestled in a cloud of red dust, sat a black, angular structure, part aircraft, part unknown. It looked grown more than built, like metal had melted around bone. As they aimed their rifles, a shape stepped from the craft. Tall, human-shaped, but wrong. Its skin shimmered like heat waves. No eyes. Just a vertical slit where its face should be, vibrating with sound. Hannah's voice whispered over the comms, "That's not infected." "No," Cole said, lowering his rifle slowly. "That's what's controlling them." The figure raised its arms, not in aggression but in reception, as if it were welcoming the signal from the sky. Then it spoke. Not in words but in thought. Every survivor within 100 yards heard it, inside their heads. "You have awakened what you do not understand." The signal was a lock. "Your kind broke it." The air shimmered again, and in the far distance hundreds of infected stopped running. They simply stood, heads tilted toward the drone's path. The dead were vessels. Their minds silent. Easy to command. "But now your signal sings. And we hear it clearly." Cruz, breathless, whispered into the mic, "It's using them, like antennae." The figure stepped back into the strange craft. And before anyone could react, the ship launched, straight up, vanishing in a burst of soundless propulsion. The infected at the edge of the forest remained still, forming a line. Awaiting orders. Blake muttered, "What the hell did we just see?" Cole didn't have an answer. But he had a plan. He turned to the squad. "We follow the drone to Helix. We shut the signal down. And if that thing is waiting for us, we end it." No one argued. Falcon Squadron loaded what little remained of their ammo, fueled their jets, and rose once more into a sky no longer ruled by humanity. The drone was still ahead, blinking steadily. The last hope of understanding what they were up against. Behind them, Blackridge fell silent. And the signal kept spreading. The Nevada desert stretched beneath them like a cracked wasteland, windswept and lifeless. Falcon Squadron soared above it in tight formation, shadowing the drone that now led them toward coordinates no map dared mark, an area deep within the government's old no-fly zone. The place was rumored to be long abandoned. But according to the signal, it had never truly been silent. Captain Arden Cole watched the drone's blinking beacon ahead, then glanced at his side console. The terrain scanner showed odd heat fluctuations coming from beneath the surface, far too consistent to be natural. Blake's voice broke through the comms. "Anyone else seeing that?" "The scanner's going crazy." Cruz confirmed it. "Whatever's down there, it's big. Like, buried facility big." Cole narrowed his eyes. "We're over the coordinates. Descend slowly. Eyes sharp." The jets broke formation and hovered into VTOL descent, setting down on a patch of cracked earth surrounded by boulders. On the surface, there was nothing but rocks and silence. But as soon as Cole's boots hit the ground, he heard it. A low hum. It vibrated through the soles of his boots. Hannah stepped beside him. "Captain, it's under us." Cruz landed last and quickly unstrapped the signal containment unit from her seat. The orb inside still pulsed, but now the pattern had shifted. It was sinking, matching a deeper, older pulse from below. Suddenly, a section of the ground to their left sank, a square metal platform descending in silence. Dust and sand poured into the newly revealed shaft. At the base of it, old military lights flickered on one by one, illuminating a forgotten elevator. "Welcome to Helix," Blake muttered. They descended together, weapons ready, signal case strapped to Cole's back. The elevator creaked and shuddered as it dropped into the earth. The lights were dim but intact. And with each level they passed, the deeper the unease grew. Finally they stopped. Level -9, Central Research Hub. The doors opened. A corridor stretched forward, untouched by time. Military logos peeled on the walls. Bulletin boards still hung with faded photos and memos. But the hallway had a strange, sterile smell, like something had preserved it unnaturally. Cole led the way. Every step echoed. Then they reached it, a reinforced door marked restricted, black signal testing. Cruz quickly cracked the panel. The door hissed open. Inside they found a large chamber filled with rusting equipment, computers coated in dust, and a towering central console with a glass cylinder similar to the one Cole now carried. But this one was empty. On a nearby table sat a pile of old notes, hard drives, and a folder labeled, Project Black Sky, Final Report. Cole flipped it open. Pages detailed a program initiated in 1994. Helix was a deep space listening post, originally built to monitor cosmic radiation. But after an anomaly was detected in deep orbit, everything changed. A repeating frequency, non-random, structured, was recorded and pulled into the base. That signal, dubbed the Black Signal, had no known source. And then came the human testing. The documents were incomplete, redacted. But one paragraph stood out. Signal induces cognitive shifts in test subjects. Aggression, loss of autonomy. Subjects become susceptible to command input. Biological override. Potential for use as bioweapon or controlled labor force. Hannah whispered, "They were trying to control people with it?" Blake growled, "And they lost control." Suddenly, lights above flickered. The low hum returned, louder now. The signal from Cole's transmitter synced once more, and in response, a nearby terminal activated. The screen flashed and then a voice played through old speakers. "Not alien. Human. This is Dr. Conrad Hess, lead signal architect. If you're hearing this, then containment has failed." The voice was calm, broken by static. "We thought we could harness the signal. We were wrong. It wasn't meant for us. It was a call and we answered. Now they know where we are." The team stood frozen. The infected weren't a virus. They were the side effect. The real threat is coming. Cole stepped back. We triggered a response. Another part of the facility lit up, a massive underground hangar sealed until now. Inside, strange hybrid machines stood dormant. Human-built exosuits fused with alien tech. Failed prototypes? Crews stared in awe. They tried to build defenses. Reverse-engineered weapons, from the signal's frequency. Hannah spotted movement. On the far wall, a screen blinked with fresh telemetry. "Captain, something's coming," she said. On the screen, a shape entered Earth's orbit. Not a missile. Not a satellite. A craft. Massive. It hovered silently, eclipsing the high atmosphere. It hadn't been launched from Earth. It had been called. The infected weren't the enemy. They were the warning sign. Cole grabbed the signal unit and turned to his squad. "We end this here. If that signal keeps broadcasting, that thing will land. And when it does, we won't be fighting zombies anymore," Blake finished. "We'll be fighting whatever sent them." The facility rumbled. From somewhere deeper in the base, power surged. Systems rebooted. Doors unlocked. But something else had awakened too. Cole's voice was steady. "This is no longer survival. This is a final stand." They moved out, heading toward the core chamber. Toward the source. Toward the only chance humanity had left. And above them in the sky, the real enemy was arriving. Warning lights pulsed red through the hallways of Project Helix as sirens flickered to life for the first time in decades. From beneath the team's boots, the vibrations grew stronger with every passing second, like the heartbeat of something mechanical, ancient, and waking up. Captain Arden Cole stood before a thick blast door marked "Core Access, Authorized Personnel Only." He turned to the others. "We shut the signal down. No matter what's waiting on the other side." Hannah, still limping from Blackridge, gripped her rifle. "Or whoever's waiting." Blake muttered, "Let's hope they left the lights on." Cruz tapped a terminal next to the door and input the biometric override sequence she'd extracted from Dr. Hess's terminal logs. With a metallic hiss, the door slid open, revealing a dark chamber flooded with soft blue light and a massive structure rising from the ground like the spine of a machine god. The signal core. Black, humming with energy, its shape was unlike any human-made reactor. Floating above it in zero-gravity stasis was another orb, identical to the one Cole had carried from Echo 4. This one, however, pulsed faster, violently. And around the chamber, suspended in tanks of green fluid, were the first test subjects, human forms preserved but altered. Their eyes glowed faintly. Their neural pathways were laced with signal-responsive material. They weren't infected. They were the bridge between human and whatever was coming. Cruz approached a nearby console. "Captain, the core's active. It's not just sending anymore. It's listening, decoding something from orbit." Cole looked up at the spinning orb. "Can we shut it down?" "Not directly," Cruz said. "It's protected by a quantum encryption lock." "But wait." She typed rapidly. "There's a manual override," she said. "But it'll trigger a feedback loop. Power surge will fry this entire chamber." Cole nodded. "Then we shut it down the hard way." Suddenly a tremor rocked the chamber. Dust rained from above. Blake steadied himself. "That wasn't us." Cruz turned to the overhead monitor. A live feed showed the sky tearing open. Above the Earth, the enormous alien craft had now positioned itself directly over the Nevada range. The drone that Falcon Squadron launched earlier had been destroyed mid-air, silenced in a flash of blue energy. And now, they were locked in. "It's begun," Hannah whispered. "They're not just watching anymore." Then the unthinkable happened. On the far end of the chamber, one of the tanks cracked. The fluid drained quickly and the figure inside dropped to the floor, landing on one knee. His body was human, mostly, but its skin shimmered like the entity Cole saw at Blackridge. And in its chest was embedded a small crystal, glowing with the same pattern as the core. It stood slowly and looked directly at them. Cole raised his weapon. "Identify yourself." The being tilted its head. When it spoke, its voice was calm, smooth but layered, as though multiple voices echoed at once. "I am Interface, a bridge, created by your kind, for theirs." Blake raised his weapon. "Whose kind?" "The architects, the ones who sent the signal. They found your world unprepared, but full of potential." Cole stepped forward. "The infected, the chaos. Was it all a test?" Interface blinked slowly. "The infected were your test. The signal was their invitation. Now that you have responded, your world has been marked." Cruz whispered, "So what happens now?" "Now," Interface said, "they arrive. And you will either kneel, or burn." Without warning, Interface charged. Cole shouted, "Move!" Blake opened fire. Bullets struck Interface's torso, but most ricocheted or melted away. Cruz dove behind the console and yanked open a panel. 30 seconds, she yelled. "That's all I need to force the override." Hannah fired short bursts, aiming for the legs. One round connected, staggering the creature long enough for Cole to slam into its shoulder first and tackle it away from Cruz's position. Interface struck back with speed unnatural for its size, slamming Cole into the wall. Blake dropped his rifle and grabbed a sparking cable from the floor, whipping it like a rope around Interface's neck. Electricity surged. Interface screamed, a sound that shattered glass, and fell back just enough for Cruz to finish the override. "Now, Captain," she screamed. Cole, bleeding from his temple, lunged toward the core and pulled the containment override. A blinding surge of energy burst outward. The core cracked. The orb exploded in blue fire. And everything went white. When the light faded, the team was lying on the floor. The tanks were shattered. The core was dead. Interface was gone, its body disintegrated as though never real. And far above the Earth, the ship in orbit began to shift. Cruz looked at the console. "We did it, signal's gone. Fully scrambled. They can't trace it anymore." Blake exhaled. "We just took ourselves off the map." Hannah leaned against the wall. "So, what now?" Cole stood slowly. "We go back to the skies. And we prepare. Because even if we stop the signal..." He looked up at the monitor where the alien craft lingered in orbit, watching, unmoving. "They're still out there." Pause. Then Cole added. "And next time they're not coming for control. They're coming for war." The desert winds screamed across the broken landscape of Nevada as Falcon Squadron emerged from the ruins of Project Helix. Behind them, the Earth still hissed with the dying echoes of the shattered signal core. What lay beneath was finished. But above them, the war had only just begun. The alien craft still lingered high in the atmosphere, unmoving, a black shadow blotting out the sun as if daring Earth's defenders to challenge it. Its presence was a message: "We saw what you did. Now see what we will do." Captain Arden Cole stood atop the runway of an abandoned military outpost, watching the clouds twist unnaturally around the ship's outline. He had no illusions left. This wasn't about infected anymore. This was about dominion. "They're waiting," Hannah muttered as she joined him. "Testing us. Seeing what we'll do next." "We don't wait," Cole said quietly. "We fly." Behind them, Blake and Cruz worked in the underground hangar, preparing the old aircraft that had somehow survived all these years. One was a prototype F-57 Skyhammer, experimental stealth capabilities, EMP ordnance, and most importantly, altitude reach. "It's the only thing we've got that can touch them up there," Cruz said, tightening a fuel line. "But one of us will have to get close enough to launch a pulse directly into the craft's outer shields." Blake frowned. "That's a one-way trip. The blast radius alone." "I know," Cole cut in. "But we don't need to destroy the ship. We need to blind it. Cut its link to the surface. If we can disable its eyes, we can regroup. Prepare Earth's defenses properly." "And if we can't?" Hannah asked. Cole's voice was steady. "Then at least we go down fighting." As dusk settled across the Badlands, Falcon Squadron suited up one last time. No longer just pilots, they were warriors of a dying world chosen not by rank but by will. They'd survived plague, monsters, and the ghosts of their own mistakes. Now they would take the fight into the sky itself. The jets powered up with a roar that echoed across the valley. The runways, though cracked and overgrown, still held the weight of war. As the engines surged, the 4 planes lifted off, slicing through the darkening air with the sharp precision of veterans who had nothing left to lose. Their target was clear. Altitude, 85,000 feet. Objective: disrupt the alien ship's neural command relay using a direct EMP pulse. Risk, total. As they climbed higher, the air thinned and the stars came out. But so did something else. The radar pinged. "Bogies incoming," Blake reported. "But they're not aircraft." Shapes moved beneath the cloud cover, flying infected, mutated and unnatural, their wings ragged and twitching. The architects had bred them as guardians designed to defend the skies. "They're trying to intercept," Hannah said. "They know what we're doing." "Hold formation," Cole ordered. "No one breaks until we reach Vector 2. The infected came fast. Twisting. Screeching. They moved like missiles, not creatures. Cole launched a flare, drawing 3 away from Cruz. Hannah rolled hard right, cutting through one with her tail rudder, sending it spiraling into the stratosphere. Blake took a hit to his left wing. Minor damage. Still climbing. They broke through the last cloud layer. And then, there it was. The alien ship. Up close, it looked less like a vessel and more like a living fortress, pulsing with eerie blue veins, orbiting silently like a judge above a guilty planet. Cruz's voice came in through comms, tight with emotion. "EMP primed. Whoever gets closest launches. The rest of us scatter." Cole took a deep breath. "I'll go." "No," Hannah cut in. "Let me." "I'm the best flyer," Blake interrupted. "I'll make the approach." Silence. Then Cruz spoke. "You're all wrong." They all looked at their radars. Cruz's jet had broken formation, speeding ahead. "Cruz?" Cole shouted. "What are you doing?" "Ending this," she said. "You need to be alive to lead what's next. I'm the one with no family left. No home. Just this. Turn around." Hannah pleaded. But Cruz was already climbing beyond protocol altitude, her afterburners glowing like fire across the stars. "I'll detonate at the outer shell," she said. "That'll fry their sensors and communications. You'll have a window to fall back and prepare Earth for what's coming." Cole's voice broke. "Don't do this alone." "I'm not alone," she whispered. "I've got you watching." The last thing they saw was her jet flipping belly up, wings folding inward as she pushed the payload directly toward the alien surface. Then, white light. A silent shockwave. And silence. The alien ship shuddered. Its lights blinked erratically. Several of the flying infected fell from the sky, lifeless. The command link had snapped. Cole's jet dipped violently as his instruments went dark, then rebooted. Static surged through his helmet. But the mission had worked. The enemy was blinded. On the ground, the sky shimmered with electricity, but the stars were visible again. Falcon Squadron regrouped over the desert, one jet short. No one spoke. They landed in silence. Cole stepped out, helmet in hand, face cold with grief, but eyes lit with defiance. "She bought us time," he said. Blake nodded. "And we'll use it." Hannah looked up at the night sky, now free of the ship's glow. "What now?" Cole stared toward the horizon. "Now we rally the last wings. We strike first. We build the world back, piece by piece, before they come again." He looked down at Cruz's flight tag in his palm, gripping it tightly. "She showed them something they didn't expect," he said softly. "Heart." Part 8 title suggestion. Final descent. One last flight to save what's left of the world. Let me know when you're ready for Part 8, the grand finale. The dawn after the EMP blast was the quietest Earth had heard in years. No screams, no signals, no swarms. Just the wind. Somewhere beyond the clouds, the alien vessel still hovered, damaged, confused, temporarily blind. Falcon Squadron had returned to the base at Raven's Crest, a hidden airstrip deep in the Colorado Range. The last safe haven they knew of. Cole stood outside the command tent, staring at the morning sky where Cruz had made her final stand. He hadn't slept. None of them had. Inside, Hannah pored over the salvaged schematics of the alien ship, courtesy of Project Helix. "We don't have long," she said, her voice hoarse. "That blast bought us maybe 12 hours. After that, the architects will recalibrate their neural systems and reestablish command." Blake paced behind her. "We won't get another shot like this. That thing is damaged. We hit it again hard, we might actually bring it down." Cole didn't move. Then we take the war to them. In the air. Where we belong. Hannah hesitated. Captain, it's not just about taking out the ship. We found something in Helix's files. A second chamber, deeper than we reached. Cole turned to face her. It held a backup transmitter, she said. A failsafe. We're tracking faint pulses now, piggybacking on satellite channels. It's underground. Somewhere near Monument Valley. Blake leaned in. They always had a contingency. Cole clenched his fists. Then so do we. Hours later, 2 assault jets and a single recon drone flew low over the Red Rock canyons of Monument Valley. Beneath the ancient sandstone cliffs and plateaus lay something new, a buried node pulsing weak energy across the world's remaining orbital networks. Infrared confirms it, Hannah said. 200 feet underground. Reinforced. Probably auto-defended. We dig it out, Cole said. Or bury it forever. Blake's voice crackled in. Captain, I've got movement. Western Ridge. You're gonna want to see this. Cole switched to visual and zoomed. What he saw made his stomach tighten. Marching toward them across the canyon floor was a reformed horde. Infected of all sizes, runners, screamers, armored variants, and at the center something new. An architect. Fully emerged. It walked upright but glowed from within, its body armored in bone metal plating, its mouth moving in silent rhythm. Every infected around it marched in sync. It's not just commanding them, Hannah whispered. It's leading them. They're here to protect the backup transmitter, Cole said. They know it's vulnerable. We don't get another window, Blake added. We either end it now or Earth never gets another chance. As the infected horde closed in, Falcon Squadron launched their final operation. Codename, Last Light. Cole piloted the Skyhammer prototype, its EMP cannon recharged and reconfigured for atmospheric burst. Hannah flew cover in the Raptor 42, targeting ground reinforcements. Blake manned the drone from the ridge, coordinating orbital scans for ground penetration. Their plan: hit the node, drop the horde, disable the architect, and run like hell. The battle began in fire. Hannah strafed the front line, missiles lighting up the canyon. The infected screamed, leapt, scattered, but the architect raised one arm and redirected them instantly. It wasn't just controlling the infected. It was thinking with them. EMP armed, Cole reported. Going in. He dipped low into the canyon, the rock walls tight on either side. Gunfire and shrieks surrounded him. The Skyhammer shook as something winged slammed into his fuselage. Just a few more seconds, he muttered. The target appeared on his HUD, a shallow dome of alloy blinking red. The node. He locked in. Pulled the trigger. Boom. A flash of blue and white. The EMP detonated directly over the node. The earth trembled. The infected froze mid-run, then dropped. Silence fell. Hannah whooped over the comms. Target is dark. Signal gone. But Cole wasn't celebrating yet. Where's the architect? Suddenly, the sky above him exploded as the alien figure leapt from the cliffside, using the burning wreckage of an infected flyer as a launch pad. It slammed onto the Skyhammer, denting the cockpit. Cole spun out of control. The jet dropped altitude. Sparks flew. Systems failed. He hit the ejection. The pod launched skyward, barely clearing the canyon. The Skyhammer smashed into the ground and detonated. Cole parachuted down, rifle drawn mid-air, landing hard on one knee, only feet away from the still-moving architect, damaged but not destroyed. It turned toward him. Cole raised his weapon. You are defiant, it spoke in his mind. That is why your kind will not survive. Cole stepped forward, bloodied but unbroken. Maybe not. But we'll die free. He fired point-blank into the core embedded in its chest. And this time the architect fell. 12 hours later the skies were clear. The alien ship above Earth began to pull away. No signals left to follow. No beacons to answer. Earth had gone dark, and in doing so had survived. Cole stood once again on the tarmac at Raven's Crest, watching stars return to the night. Hannah joined him. We lost a lot. But not everything, Cole said. Blake came up behind them with a smile. Command says we've got confirmed chatter from Australia, Norway, and parts of Asia. Survivors. Organizing. Rallying. And us. Hannah asked. We keep flying, Cole said. There will be more battles. But now we know what we're up against. And next time? He looked to the sky where the enemy had once lingered. They won't catch us sleeping. He held Cruz's flight tag in his hand one last time, then tucked it in his chest pocket. Operation Final Sky was over. But Earth's war had just begun. White heavy checkmark story complete.